Yeah. Okay. So last time we were just discussing how he was talking about how any sort of good-naturedness in people or good-naturedness in society is universally desirable, and that sort of good-naturedness or gentility or civility in people will have to start with justice. And he said then that he is the living proof of it, and he has understood it and he lives it and evidences it. Then he says that uh, what he has seen is that every single child, from the moment that they are born, they have three distinctive qualities, human children.
Wow,
And
that's so
these distinctive
beautiful.
qualities are that every child, since their birth, is a seeker of justice. From birth itself, they wish to do what is right, and from birth itself, they speak the truth. They're truthful. But then what happens is that they don't understand justice, so they don't know how to be just, even though they seek it for themselves. So they don't know how to be just. Then they don't know what is right and wrong. Therefore, they don't know, what they wish to do the right thing, but they don't know what the right thing is or how to do it. And then they wish to speak the truth. They are truthful, but they don't know the truth. So these are the three dilemmas that go along with it. So then the obvious answer to what the education system for humans must provide is that it should be able to fill these three gaps that correspond to these three innate qualities of each child. So the education system should be able to allow the child to understand justice and therefore be just. Then the education system should be able to help the child understand what is the right thing and how to go about doing it. It should make the child capable of being uh, this capable of having such good judgment of right and wrong, and also capable of living accordingly. And then finally, the education system should allow the child to understand the truth so that they can go on speaking the truth then. So then they don't have to be confused. Even, even when you're not trying to lie, sometimes we end up speaking mistruths because we don't understand, because we are mistaken, because we are under some misconceptions. So that, therefore, all these three are the responsibility of the education system, and it is through the education system that they are best taken forward. Because when you look at families, you see that if someone makes mistakes, then it will be who will be able to fix that mistake in the person, who will be able to correct the mistake in the individual. It will have to be someone who knows what is right and wrong, who understands what is right and wrong. So someone in the family would go about doing it if a child makes a mistake. But then if there's no one in the family who has such good judgment, who has some understanding, then who will do it? Then someone in the vicinity, in the neighborhood, in the village will help the child understand right and wrong and correct that mistake. If there's no one in the neighborhood, then it'll have to fall to the larger society, the nation, the state, maybe somewhere even further away. But it will have to happen from one individual to another individual. It will, this correction of mistakes or this instatement of knowledge and education has to happen from an individual to another individual. That means it has to happen within a relationship. Whatever, however close or far that relationship may be, it will have to be from one person to another person, that is through relationships. And luckily, we are all constantly surrounded by relationships. Humans cannot exist and do not exist without relationships. So we have that ingredient. Now we just need understanding and knowledge. So let me just share and see where we go from there today.
वो प्रतिष्ठा को स्थापित करेगा। ये नियति सहज काम। तो ये तो स्वाभाविक क्रिया थी। हमको सारे मानव को, आप हम सबको कहीं ना कहीं सुधार की प्रवृत्ति थी ही।
So this is a natural process of destiny in which one human will help to correct or educate another human being. So this is something that was present in all of us to some degree or the other, which was this tendency for improvement.
कई बार शिक्षा के परिवर्तन के बारे में जो आशय प्रस्तुत किया है, ये भी इसी प्रकार की एक चिन्ह है, एक चिन्हगारी है, यह ऐसा प्रत्याशा संसार में है.
So even this transformation that we have tried to bring about in our education systems time and time again are but another symbol of this desire for improvement.
चिन्ह है, एक चिन्हगारी है, यह ऐसा प्रत्याशा संसार में है, कुछ परिवर्तन चाह रहे हैं.
It is but a spark that there is some desire and some hope in society that we are seeking some sort of improvement. These, attempts again and again at transforming education, bringing change, all of these are symbols and sparks of this desire for improvement in humankind.
इतना तो गवाहित हो चुकी है. क्या परिवर्तन होना है वो पकड़ में नहीं आती रहे, उसके लिए ये प्रस्ताव है.
But what that transformation has to be like, what it has to be about, that we haven't caught on to yet. And it is for that this proposal is being presented.
शिक्षा संस्कार से ही सर्वमानव में मैंने लोक व्यापीकरण का जो काम है शिक्षा का, वो शिक्षा संस्कार प्रणाली ही है.
Because this process of making it globally accessible, making understanding and knowledge globally accessible can only be accomplished through the system of education, through the education systems.
दूसरा किसी प्रणाली से लोक व्यापीकरण उतना जल्दी हो नहीं पाएगा.
And through no other system will we be able to make this global access easily available. And what he's saying is not just the education system, but the systems of education and enculturation. So education happens primarily in educational institutes, and enculturation happens within families, primarily. Of course, both education and enculturation also happens in the other, in education institutes and families.
इसमें हम सहमत हैं. अब शिक्षा भी बहुत सारे विधि से दे चुके, अब मानवीय शिक्षा को प्रावधानित किया जाना चाहिए.
So now we've already tried to give education from various different methodologies and pedagogies. So now we should try to provide education via the humane method.
मानवीय शिक्षा का स्वरूप ही है न्यायपूर्वक हर व्यक्ति जीकर प्रमाणित होना.
Now, the form itself of humane education is that each individual lives and evidences living by justice. So, humane education is to be educated to live with justice and to evidence living by justice. That is what humane education is.
हर व्यक्ति प्रमाणित होने के लिए समझदारी को हमको देना ही पड़ेगा. ऐसी स्थिति में शिक्षा में क्या कर दोगे, पूछा.
And in order for every single individual to be evidenced, we will have to provide this knowledge and education.
समझदारी को हमको देना ही पड़ेगा. हर व्यक्ति प्रमाणित होने के लिए समझदारी को हमको देना ही पड़ेगा. ऐसी स्थिति में शिक्षा में क्या कर दोगे, पूछा. तो उसका उत्तर ये निकलता है, जो विज्ञान शिक्षा जो कुछ भी हम दे रहे हैं, उन शिक्षा में जो जीवन है ना, चैतन्य पक्ष की अध्ययन समावेश किया जाना चाहिए.
Right. So, for every single person to be able to evidence themselves, we will have to provide knowledge in our education systems. So, what has our education system lacked up till now? To that, I say that in this scientific education system, we must also additionally add the knowledge of the Jeevan and the conscious aspect.
है ना, चैतन्य पक्ष की अध्ययन समावेश किया जाना चाहिए.
We must include the study of the conscious aspect and the Jeevan.
चैतन्य संसार को यदि हम समझेंगे नहीं हैं, हम अस्तित्व को समझना दुष्पार है, समझ में आएगा ही नहीं.
Unless we understand this conscious aspect, it will be very difficult. It is going to be very difficult to understand existence. We will not be able to understand it only.
जिस वस्तु को हम समझते ही नहीं है, वो व्यवस्था के रूप में पहचानना कैसे बनेगा?
And that which we don't even understand, how will we be able to recognize it as an orderly system?
पहले हम अस्तित्व को समझना ही होगा. अस्तित्व को समझने के बाद अस्तित्व स्वयं व्यवस्था के रूप में है, इसको समझना होगा. अस्तित्व को समझने वाला वस्तु भी चाहिए.
So first we must understand existence, but we cannot understand existence if we don't understand the Jeevan and the conscious aspect. So in order to understand existence even, we need to understand the Jeevan. And it is only once we understand existence that we will be able to recognize it as an orderly system. Without understanding it, we cannot see how we won't be able to see that this is an orderly system. We might go about thinking that it is random and chaotic or full of struggle or whatever else.
अस्तित्व को समझना ही होगा. अस्तित्व को समझने के बाद अस्तित्व स्वयं व्यवस्था के रूप में है, इसको समझना होगा. अस्तित्व को समझने वाला वस्तु भी चाहिए.
So we must understand existence. We will have to understand existence. And then upon understanding it, we will also have to recognize that existence itself is an orderly system. And then after that, we also need the one that is the understander. The entity that
समझने वाले
understands.
वस्तु को खोजते हैं तो जीवन ही होता है.
And when we look for the entity that understands, it is only the Jeevan.
जीवन ही चैतन्य पक्ष है.
And it is but the Jeevan which is the conscious aspect.
चैतन्य वस्तु का भी अध्ययन में समावेश होना जरूरी है.
And that is why this study of the conscious unit must also be included within education.
तो मनोविज्ञान में संस्कार पक्ष का मतलब समझदारी पक्ष का मनोविज्ञान में समावेश होना आवश्यक है.
Then in psychology we must have the aspect of sanskar. Sanskar, again, I will just, because I don't have an accurate translation, are the deeply rooted acceptances that are in line with reality. So sanskar, so within psychology we must have sanskar. That is, we must have understanding. The contribution of understanding to psychology must also be included in the study of psychology.
मानव संचेतना का पहचान होना चाहिए. मानव संचेतना में ही संवेदनशीलता, संज्ञानशीलता दोनों अपने आप में संतुलित रूप में व्यवहृत होते हैं.
Humane consciousness must be recognized within psychology, and within this humane consciousness we must recognize the two. So humane consciousness is made up of two parts. Within humane consciousness we must recognize sentience and cognizance. So samvedanshilta and sangyanshilta, these are two components that make up all of humane consciousness. The first part is sensitivity or sentience, and the other part is cognizance. So cognizance is the aspect of understanding and sentience is the aspect of sensitivity or sensation feeling.
संचेतना का पहचान होना चाहिए. मानव संचेतना में ही संवेदनशीलता, संज्ञानशीलता दोनों अपने आप में संतुलित रूप में व्यवहृत होते हैं.
So it is only in humane consciousness that both sentience and cognizance are expressed in a balanced manner.
तो ऐसी मनोविज्ञान पूर्ण शिक्षा की प्रावधान करने की आवश्यकता.
So such humane psychology must so therefore there must be provisions for teaching such humane psychology within the education system.
दर्शन शास्त्र के साथ जो दर्शन कुछ भी पढ़ाते हैं,
Now, among philosophers, they teach any sort of philosophy.
उसके साथ प्रामाणिकता का अध्ययन आवश्यक है.
But with such philosophy, there it is absolutely necessary to also study authenticity and evidence.
तो कुछ भी हम दर्शन पढ़ावें वो प्रमाणित ना हो, ऐसा दर्शन का क्या मतलब है?
So whatever philosophy we may teach, if it is not evidenced, if it is not authenticated, then what is the point of teaching it?
दर्शन पढ़ाया जाए प्रमाणों के साथ.
So philosophy must be taught along with evidences.
चाहे भौतिक शास्त्र भौतिक विधि से पढ़ाइए, चाहे अध्यात्म विधि से पढ़ाइए, चाहे मानव विधि से पढ़ाइए.
Whether you teach it from a materialistic way, in a materialistic way, whether you teach it in an idealistic, spiritualistic way, or whether you teach it in a humanistic way.
प्रमाणित हो जाए, ठीक है.
As long as it is evidenced or authenticated, it is fine.
तो प्रमाणित होने की उद्देश्य को लाएं तो उसमें ये मानव पद्धति से पढ़ाने वाली स्थिति आती है.
So if we bring in this objective of evidencing, of authenticating, in that we then find the emergence of the humane way of teaching philosophy.
मानव समझदार हो सकता है, समझदारी के लिए अस्तित्व स्वयं समीचीन है.
So humans can become knowledgeable, and for such knowledge and understanding, existence itself is ever accessible.
ये बात आती है.
This is what comes up.
तो प्रमाणों के बारे में हमने जो अनुभव किया है और मैं स्वयं प्रमाणित हूँ, वो है मैं जो समझा हूँ उसको समझाने में हम प्रमाणित हूँ.
So regarding evidence, that what I have understood and of which I am myself an evidence, is that what I have understood, I am capable of explaining to others.
प्रमाणों के बारे में हमने जो अनुभव किया है,
regarding evidences, what I have experienced and of which I am myself an evidence, is that
और मैं स्वयं प्रमाणित हूँ, वो है मैं जो समझा हूँ उसको समझाने में हम प्रमाणित हूँ.
is that whatever I have understood, I am Hi.
Lost you for a while, huh?
Yeah, the signal must have broken. Yeah. So he's saying whatever I have understood, I am evidenced, I'm authentic, I have been authenticated in being able to help others understand the same.
जो सीखा हूँ सिखाने में प्रमाणित हूँ और किया हूँ कराने में प्रमाणित हूँ.
And whatever I have learned, I am evidenced in being able to help others learn. And whatever I have done, I am evidenced in helping others to do. So what I have understood, I can help others understand. What I have learned, I can help others learn. Whatever I have done, I have helped others do. That is my evidence.
मनुष्य को ये तीनों जगह में प्रमाणित होने का अवसर है बैठा है.
It is only in these three areas that humans have the opportunity of evidencing themselves: understanding, learning, and doing.
और चौथे प्रकार से कुछ कर भी नहीं सकता. और इस तीन प्रकार को छोड़ के और चौथे प्रकार से कुछ कर भी नहीं सकता.
If he has to do anything, it has to be in these three ways itself. There is no fourth way in which they can go about evidencing themselves.
इन तीनों विधा में हम प्रमाणित होना जरूरी है.
And it is necessary for all of us to be evidenced in all three of these ways.
और इसमें सबसे परिपूर्णता किसमें चाहिए? समझ में चाहिए.
And of these, where do we require the utmost completeness, the utmost fulfillment? It is in understanding.
सीखने और करने में हम थोड़ा सा कमे करें, थोड़ा सा कमे सीखें, तो भी हम ठीक से जी जाएंगे.
In learning and doing, even if we were to learn a little less or do a little less, even then we will be able to live easily. Here, just to clarify, when he says learning, in Hindi the word is seekhna. Seekhna is to do with skills of various kinds. So whether it is to learn how to write well, or learn how to speak well, or learn how to do maths well, or learn how to cook well, or whatever, all of these are in the realm of skills. These are all learnings. These he is saying that we can even do a little less of, we will still be able to live well. But what we cannot compromise on at all, what we need utmost completion in, is our understanding.
किंतु समझने में यदि कमी रहेगी, वो नीम हकीम खतरे जान होके ही रहेगी.
So even if we were to have a little less of learning and doing, we will be able to live well. However, if there is any lack or any lacuna left in our understanding, then that will be a site of danger. He says, Neem Hakim Khatre ki Jar. Neem Hakim means basically, and it's a saying, it's an idiom that is about an amateur doctor who doesn't really understand much. They know half-cooked, half-baked knowledge of medicine, and therefore they end up compromising their patients. So, you know, what are they called? Not an amateur, but a whack? No, what's it called? Yeah, basically a doctor who doesn't know. There's a word that's slipping my mind. A quack, yes. So it will lead to quackery at the end of the day, which is the root of danger, which is the site of all danger. Even if there is a little bit lacking in our understanding.
तो समझने में यदि कमी रहेगी, वो नीम हकीम खतरे जान होके ही रहेगी. ये होना ही होना है, जो अभी तक.
So if there is any lack in our understanding, it will necessarily end up in quackery and become a site of danger.
घटित हुआ. अभी
So
आदमी
this has happened.
जो करते हैं और सिखाते हैं, सीखते हैं, काफी अच्छी ढंग से कर लिए हैं ये भाग को.
So today, what humans do and have learned and teach, have learned and help others learn in terms of skills, they have done a lot, and in fact, they have done it quite well.
जहां तक समझ की बात है, वो शून्य हो गया.
But as far as understanding goes, that is zero.
ये करने कराने, सीखने सिखाने को ही हम सर्वोपरि मूल्य मनाने के लिए दौड़े.
Because we have put all our energies and we have run towards doing and helping others do, learning and helping others learn as the topmost priority and topmost value. That is the kind of value we have run towards up till now.
वो गलत हो गया. उससे कोई ना तो व्यवस्था में
There we have gone wrong.
मिला, ना कोई मानव को राहत मिला. हम कहीं ना कहीं फंस के ही रह गए.
So in that, humans have neither found any sort of relief, have neither found any sort of order, nor have they found any sort of relief. And that is why we have been trapped in this.
अब ये एक अच्छी माने सुगम उपाय निकल के आता है. मनुष्य को अध्ययन करने की आवश्यकता आ गई है.
So now a very nice, a very easy solution has become available, that humans have developed the need to study, actually study in order to understand.
मनुष्य का अध्ययन के बाद ही हम समझदारी के बारे में प्रमाणित होना बन पाता है.
So the need to study humans. So it is only after the study of humans that we become capable of participating in order. So this is the solution he is talking about. The solution is to study what humans are, because it is only after that that we can live orderly, in an orderly way.
उसका ये जीता जागता हुआ उदाहरण हुई जो आदर्शवादी विधि से मनुष्य छूट गया, ईश्वर और देवी देवता ये सब आ गए.
And a very simple example of that is that through the spiritualistic, idealistic way, humans got left behind and we were too focused on God and goddesses and deities and whatnot.
उसको समझाने के चक्कर में मनुष्य का अध्ययन को तिलांजलि कर दिया.
In the course of trying to explain these gods, goddesses, etc., we completely we ended up foregoing studying humankind and completely abandoned the study of humankind, in fact.
हो गया. और उसके बाद जो दूसरा विधि आई, पूरा का पूरा भौतिकवादी युग आए, अब मनुष्य को छोड़ दिया, यंत्रों को पकड़ लिया.
And after that, the second way that emerged, this materialistic and scientific way that emerged, in that they abandoned human beings and latched onto machines.
यंत्र प्रमाण है. और इन
So over there, machine is all evidence.
के लिए किताब प्रमाण है. जब अभागा आदमी यूं करती हूँ अपने आप से हरिहर हो गया.
So here in the materialistic scientific tradition, our machines are our evidence, whereas in the idealistic, spiritualistic traditions, books were our evidence. And so the human being who is stuck between these two, wo harihar ho gaya. How to say that? He said that basically the person stuck between those two was lost, was completely abandoned from thought.
पूरा हो गया, बात पूरक हो गया. तो भ्रम के पूरक होकर के भ्रम के लिया, यंत्र प्रमाण है. और इनके लिए किताब प्रमाण है. जब अभागा आदमी यूं करती हूँ अपने आप से हरिहर हो गया. पूरा हो गया, बात पूरक हो गया. तो भ्रम.
So the person was completely lost, and so he became a complement to the delusion going around.
के पूरक होकर के भ्रम के ही चपेट में पाची गया.
And in this way was digested in the fist of delusion.
पच करके जितना लात खाना था, मैंने कुंठित होना था, प्रताड़ित होना था, और सहमना था, गहमना था, सड़ना था, जो कुछ भी होना था वो सब हो गए.
And in this being trapped in delusion, all that we had to, be tossed around, be kicked around, be tormented, be there are lots of adjectives he used, be all the sorts of sorrow and misery and disappointment that we had to face. We have faced all of those, and we have been facing all of those because of being trapped in delusion.
अब उसका उद्धार कैसा हो?
So now, but how would we emancipate ourselves or such a person from this situation?
जब उद्धार के बारे में तो पहले से भी आश्वासन है.
But then regarding this emancipation also, there have already been several different kinds of assurances.
तो सारे गद्दियां और आश्वासन देते ही हैं उद्धार करने के. उद्धार का प्रमाण ना हो, कितना दिन तक झेला जाए?
So all these seats of religion, of commerce, of education, of politics, all these seats already provide assurances of emancipation. However, when there is no evidence, then
देते ही हैं उद्धार करने की। उद्धार का प्रमाण ना हो कितना दिन तक झेला जाए।
But if there is no evidence, then for how long can we tolerate it?
इसीलिए तो गद्दियों के सबसे बड़ी गद्दी जहां से स्रोत है किसका, समझदारी का, वो है शिक्षण संस्था।
And therefore, the source of all these seats of power, the seat which is the source of all the other seats, that is the seat of education, educational institutions,
इन शिक्षण संस्था में विज्ञान के साथ चैतन्य पक्ष का पूरा माने समावेश होना चाहिए।
in such educational institutes, we must, along with science, also include the study of the consciousness.
चैतन्य प्रकृति का अध्ययन हुए बिना अध्ययन कहाँ पूरा हुआ?
Without studying the conscious nature, how is our study complete?
सहअस्तित्व का अध्ययन हुए बिना अध्ययन कहाँ पूरा हुआ?
Without having studied coexistence, how have we completed, where have we completed our study?
ये दोनों भाग तो शिक्षण संस्था, शिक्षण संसार में, शिक्षा सारस्वत में, शिक्षा वाङ्मय में, शिक्षा प्रक्रिया में ये बिल्कुल अछूता रखा हुआ है।
And both of these have been been left completely untouched in all our educational institutes, our educational literature, our educational pedagogies, in our educational methodologies.
ये दोनों चीज आया नहीं।
Neither of these two have come up in any of this. So just to draw attention to the fact that he is really stressing not just the information that consciousness exists, but an actual study of what consciousness is. That is what is necessary. Not just the information that existence is coexistence, but the education of a study of how existence is coexistence. Because until we study it, we won't be able to understand the orderliness of nature. And until we see the orderliness, we don't know for ourselves that it is coexistent. Someone tells us it's again just a matter of faith. So we need to understand for ourselves how and what consciousness is and how and what coexistence is. And when we do that, we understand why everything is the way that it is, why the things that we seek are, things like justice and balance and truth. These things are the laws of nature. Why are they like that? And how are they like that? That is something to be studied, not to just be accepted on faith. Because that is very, accepting it on faith is very superficial. We don't have it. It is not part of us yet, as long as it is just a matter of faith. We need to be able to see the how of it. And then we will see the inevitability of why justice is the only way forward, the inevitability of why the Jeevan is a conscious atom, or why the inevitability of why we must understand nature as saturated in space in order to be able to do the right thing. All these tenets that we are hearing here as proposals, we can't just accept them. We need to study the reasoning behind it. We need to study the mechanism behind it. We need to study the meaning behind it and understand it for ourselves. Therefore, he's stressing the education system, not just the public broadcast system.
उसके बाद जो जैसा ही हम मनोविज्ञान के पास जाते हैं, मनुष्य का अध्ययन से मानव संचेतना प्रमाणित हो जाती है, उसका खूब ही बीज समझ में आता है।
So after that, then we must go to psychology. And when we study the human being, this humane psychology can also become evidenced. And hi, Pashwa Didi.
जो जैसा ही हम मनोविज्ञान के पास जाते हैं, मनुष्य का अध्ययन से मानव संचेतना प्रमाणित हो जाती है, उसका खूब ही बीज समझ में आता है।
And then upon studying the human, we are able to evidence humane consciousness and also be able to understand its particular qualities.
उसकी आवश्यकता भी समझ में आता है, उसका प्रयोजन भी समझ में आता है।
So upon the study, we are able to understand the particular qualities of a humane consciousness. We are able to understand the necessity of humane consciousness and its purpose as well. So this is what the education of humane consciousness is about. It's not just about believing that there is something called humane consciousness or agreeing that something is humane consciousness. We need to see why and how and for what this is.
तो इसीलिए क्या करना चाहिए, मान सीधा सीधा मान माने संस्कार पक्ष का अध्ययन मनोविज्ञान में समावेश होने की आवश्यकता।
So therefore, what should we do? We should very straightforwardly include the understanding aspect, the aspect of sanskar in manovigyan. Sanskar is nothing but understanding, right?
ये दोनों शायद लोगों को समझ में आता है, आवश्यकता भी समझ में आता होगा।
So both of these people can probably understand and understand the need of as well. The first was the inclusion of the conscious aspect in our science education, and the second was the inclusion of the understanding or sanskar aspect in our psychology, education of psychology.
तीसरा मुद्दा जो दर्शन शास्त्र के साथ प्रामाणिकता की अध्ययन।
The third point was to include the study of evidences in our study of philosophy. So he is basically going one by one, just to give some context. He's going one by one down the line of basically saying how each subject in our education systems need to be completed. Right now, they are all incomplete. We have been studying science, but we've only been studying mechanistic science. We have not studied the conscious aspect. So that needs to be added on to science. We have been studying psychology, but we haven't been studying the psychology of someone who has understood, the psychology of understanding. So that needs to be added. We need to add the study of understanding with our study of psychology. Then we have gone about studying philosophy for all these years, but we haven't been studying evidence along with that. So we must include a study of evidences when we study philosophy. Similarly, there are 5 other points that he's going to list out on how to augment our educational content.
दर्शन पढ़ने के बाद दर्शन के अनुसार प्रामाणिक हुआ कि नहीं हुआ, नहीं हुआ तो दर्शन क्या पढ़ा भाई?
After studying philosophy, has the individual been authenticated according to that philosophy? Have they been evidenced in line with that philosophy or not? If they haven't, then have they even studied the philosophy? What is the evidence?
तो इसका जो छूत है बहुत पहले से बनी हुई है। मनुष्य को हम ये सोचते रहे पढ़ा और पढ़ करके सुनाया तो विद्वान हो गया, ऐसा हम।
So इसका जो छूत है, I guess the crux of this or something like that, not exactly. The crux of this is, or the origin of this is that we have for long thought that when someone studies something, when someone reads something, and then they're able to repeat it or recite it once again, we consider them to have become wise, to have understood.
मानते रहे, जबकि ऐसा विद्वान हुआ नहीं है।
So just by someone having studied or read something, when they were able to recite it, we believed them to have become wise, whereas this was not actually true.
पढ़ा, पढ़ करके सुना दिया तो हम विद्वान हो गए, ऐसा हम मानते ही रहे।
So they read it, they studied it, and then recited it. So, and we would believe that itself to be wisdom.
जबकि विद्वान हुआ नहीं रहते हैं।
Whereas they are not wise.
विद्वता एक समझदारी की मैंने स्वरूप है।
Learnedness or wisdom is a manifestation of understanding. is the manifestation of understanding.
विद्या स्वयं में अपने आप में अस्तित्व सहज है, तो अस्तित्व को समझे बिना विद्वान होता नहीं.
And learning itself is natural in existence. So without having understood existence, you cannot have become learned or wise. So Vidya or learning is basically existence itself. And learnedness is a manifestation of understanding this existence, of understanding this learning. So unless you understand existence, you have not become learned, you have not become wise.
जीवन को समझे बिना विद्वान होता नहीं.
Without having understood the Jeevan or this conscious entity, one has not become wise.
और मानवतापूर्ण आचरण को समझे बिना आदमी विद्वान होता नहीं.
And without having understood humane conduct, humans do not become wise.
यह समझ में आता है, विचार शैली भी बनता है और योजना भी बनता है, कार्य योजना भी बनता है, फलस्वरूप प्रमाणित होता है.
When we understand this, when this is understood, so then our thought process also aligns to that. Our plans and programs also align with that. And therefore, our living also aligns with it, and we find evidence.
बनता है और योजना भी बनता है, कार्य योजना भी बनता है, फलस्वरूप प्रमाणित होता है.
And consequently, they become evidenced or authenticated.
यदि हम समझते ही नहीं तो हम विचार शैली कहाँ से लाएं?
If we don't even understand, then where will we bring that sort of mentality from? A mentality of coexistence, of how nature is, the mentality which is natural to existence, which is harmonious, which is just or humane. So unless we understand existence, which is harmonious, orderly, coexistential, unless we see everything like that, we will not be able to transform our mentality, our thinking to be like that.
कहाँ से लाएंगे? हमको यही दो विधा में विचार शैली को दिया, सुविधा संग्रह के लिए कुछ करना है, उसके लिए आदमी विचार शैली तय.
So where will we bring it from without understanding? So we have only provided two sorts of mentality, two sorts of thinking up till now. The first is to do something for comforts and accumulation.
तैयार किया, एक से एक हुए भी, इसमें दो राय है नहीं.
So we went about preparing all our resources for comforts and accumulation, and accomplished it also. There are no two doubts about it. We have accumulated a whole lot of comforts.
बहुत सारे अंतरराष्ट्रीय ख्याति प्राप्त विचारशील हो चुके हैं सुविधा संग्रह में.
Several internationally renowned people have become accomplished in comfort accumulation.
तो उसी भांति तो दूसरा ओर हमको दिया असंग्रह, विरक्ति, भक्ति.
And in the same way, the other mentality that was given to us was renouncement, virakti, asceticism. Virakti is also to separate, isolation. Renouncement, isolation, and devotion. That was the other mentality given to us.
उसमें भी करोड़ों आदमी अपने को लगाया, अपने धैर्य, साहस और निष्ठा का परिचय दिया, जिसमें हम कोई समाज का रूपरेखा देखने को नहीं.
And in that also crores of people, millions of people dedicated themselves, dedicated their patience, their courage, and their resources for this sort of thinking.
जिसमें हम कोई समाज का रूपरेखा देखने को नहीं मिली.
But in this too, we found no direction or outline for how society should be.
वो अथक परिश्रम करने में तो आदमी कभी बाज नहीं आया है मेरे अनुसार.
Humans have never fallen short of their tireless efforts, according to me. It is not in their tireless efforts that we have fallen short.
परिश्रम करते जा रहा है लक्ष्य और दिशा विहीन विधि से।
We continue to put in a lot of hard work and effort, but in a directionless way.
तो मैं भी जो शुरू किए थे हमारा कोई लक्ष्य थोड़ी ही थी।
So even when I had started, I didn't have any goal as such.
हमारा जो एक ही बात की आवश्यकता महसूस हुई थी उसी को लक्ष्य माना जाए तो बात दूसरी है।
There was only one thing that I had felt the need for, and if we want to consider that to be some sort of goal, then that's a different story.
हमारा प्रश्न का उत्तर।
And this need that I had felt for was the answer to my question.
हमारे प्रश्न का उत्तर के बारे में हम जो कुछ भी परिश्रम किया उतना ही बात।
All the efforts I put in were only towards the answer of my question, to my question. That is all.
हमारा और कोई लक्ष्य नहीं थी। हम कोई ऐसा दर्शन लिख दूंगा ये भी लक्ष्य नहीं थी।
I had no other goal. I had no such goal that I would write or compose this entire some sort of philosophy either.
समझ करके हम कोई लायक हो जाऊंगा ये भी लक्ष्य नहीं थी।
It wasn't even my goal that I will understand something and become, capable. Even that wasn't my goal. My goal wasn't even to become capable upon understanding. It was just to find the answer to my question.
हमको मोक्ष मिलेगा ये भी लक्ष्य नहीं थी। स्वर्ग मिलेगा ये भी लक्ष्य नहीं।
It wasn't my goal to find liberation. That even finding heaven was not my goal.
थी पैसा मिलेगा ये भी लक्ष्य नहीं थी। संग्रह मिलेगा ये भी नहीं थी।
I had no goal to earn any money or to receive any money. I had no goal to accumulate any resources.
सुविधा मिलेगा ये भी नहीं थी। हमको और कोई ऐसा कोई लक्ष्य हमारे पास था।
And I had no goal to even attain any sort of comforts. I had no such goal. Basically, what he's saying is that humans have been putting tireless efforts towards basically directionlessness. We have been putting in tireless efforts without any real concrete goals in mind. And he says, I am no exception to that. When I went about doing this, what was motivating me was no real goal as such. It was just this basic desire to have an answer to my question. No actual concrete goal that is, livable evidence of anything.
हमारे पास एक ही बात थी तो हमारा पास प्रश्न है। प्रश्न का उत्तर हो तो हमको मिलेगा।
I had only one thing with me, which was that I have a question, and if an answer to that exists, then I wanted to find it.
इस आस्था से हम शुरू किए।
It was with this faith that I began.
शुरू किए तो संयोग से हम पा गए।
And since I started with some coincidence or serendipity, I found it. I found my answer.
है ना?
Okay.
अब इसमें ये योग और संयोग की शब्द को हम प्रयोग करता रहता।
Now I keep using these words of yog and sanyog. Now yog, if I had to translate it, would be conjunction, and sanyog is usually translated as serendipity, which even yog, how would people translate yog generally?
Union, no?
Union. Yes. Union. So yog basically means to come together, and even the yog in sanyog means to come together, but it has a prefix there called sam, and that's what makes it a union that was for goodness and for completeness. So yeah, he says that now I keep using these words union and serendipity, yog and sanyog.
उसके बारे में भी मैं अपने आशय को बता दूं। योग का
Regarding that also, let me tell you about my intent when I'm using these terms.
का मतलब होता है मिलन।
So what yog means is a meeting. So what union means is a meeting.
जैसा हम रास्ते में जा रहे हैं, कोई पत्थर मिल गया,
For instance, when I'm walking down the road, I meet a stone.
ठीक है, जानवर मिल गया, झाड़ मिल गया, दवाई मिल गया, और आदमी मिल गया, कुछ भी मिल गया।
So I meet a stone, or I meet an animal, or I meet a plant, or I meet some sort of medicine. Whatever, I can meet anything, or I can basically come across anything when I'm going down the road.
मिल गए, इसका नाम है योग।
This is what is called union.
संयोग का मतलब है
Now, sanyog or serendipity means a meeting for completeness.
पूर्णता क्या? सत्संग का नाम देते हैं।
So now what is this meeting for completeness? So if we look at regular popular usage, we call it satsang. What would satsang be in English? Satsang. Satsang is a congregation of good people. Basically, yeah. So a congregation of well-wishers, of good people coming together to listen to good things is what the word satsang means. We can just give it, call it congregation for short, right? So he's saying, what is this meeting for completion, or meeting with the purpose of completion? So in everyday common parlance, we use this term congregation.
सत्संग का अर्थ को यदि उस ढंग से यदि मैंने देख पाएंगे तो शायद हो सकता है, किंतु मूलतः पूर्णता के अर्थ में ही बात।
So if we are able to see the sense of this word congregation in this light of goodness and good people coming together, if we are able to see it in that light, then we'll be able to understand it a bit. But essentially, serendipity or sanyog means a coming together for completeness, a meeting or a union for completeness.
पूर्णता के अर्थ क्या है भाई? मनुष्य व्यवस्था में जीता है तो पूर्णता है।
So, but then what is this purpose of completeness now? So that is, when humans live in orderliness, that itself is completeness.
प्रामाणिक होता है तो परम पूर्णता है।
And if they are able to evidence themselves, if they are authenticated, then that is ultimate completeness. Okay, I think it's time, and we have 2 minutes. Maybe we should pause here, and if there are any questions or thoughts, we can do those. Anything from today's?
No, today he was just saying something. That's all. He was not like,
Yeah,
he's telling his story. I mean, how he views this whole thing.
yeah, he was talking about how we need to work on, how we need to transform education, what we need to do with our education systems in order to make them humane. That's what he is talking about today. That means we have to complement science with the study of consciousness, which we don't have. We need to complement psychology with the study of understanding, or you could say something like epistemology or knowledge, which we don't actually have today. And then we need to complement the study of philosophy with evidences, with a study of what evidence means, evidence is. And this is how we will be able to transform the education system, because without that, we won't have a humanely educated student. And it is a humanely educated student who is able to see existence and understand existence as a coexistential order, and therefore their mentality becomes coexistential, and therefore their programs become coexistential, and therefore their living and evidence becomes coexistential, which is what all of us want. And then, of course, he went back to talking about how, in the absence of such changes to the education system, where it is that we have landed up.
Yeah, I mean, I came late actually, sorry. But I think it is very interesting, isn't it? This whole thing of education, and actually what is education for fundamentally. And if it isn't to live in harmony, and if it isn't to live in with wisdom, then actually all education that isn't doing that is not complete, and has errors, or can never be fulfilling, can never lead to a fulfilled human being, right? Because you would have to have it. And so it's interesting, he's kind of pointing out that each aspect of human discoveries or human subjects, they all have some partiality, or some like something partial about it, or some
Yes.
incompleteness, or some errors, some error conclusions. So
Yeah.
it's interesting to see it in that way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good word actually, partiality, because we also use it in that sense. Now, when we are partial, that means because of our incompleteness, we are also biased and looking at things in the wrong way, and in a negative. It's used in a negative way, partiality.
Yeah.
Appropriate word here. So he's bringing out the
Yeah, it's also
partiality.
biased towards, and also biased towards, what we already desire, but that desire that we have isn't coming from wisdom. So we're passionate to say making money or competing or things like that. We kind of give those more priority, but we haven't understood what they do.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this is quite an important thing to think about actually, especially for anyone who's thinking about education and children and society as a
Yeah.
whole. Because these are like
Yeah.
very particular augmentations he's adding. He's not just saying that science is bad, it needs to be improved, or philosophy is wrong and it needs. He's giving us exactly what needs to be added, and I find that quite useful.
Yeah.
And earlier, just before you had come, he had also talked about the three areas in which we have to evidence ourselves. So, samajhna, seekhna, and karna. That is, we have to evidence ourselves in our understanding, our learning, and in our doing. Seekhna, I am translating as learning. That also I find very valuable, because he also says that seekhna and karna, if we are lacking in that a little bit, it's all right. We can still live well. But we can't lack even a little bit in our understanding. So, all the skills that we may develop, or the skills that we may acquire, or all the things that we might do, they're all well and good. And that's all that education has actually up till now been focused on. But what we really need to focus more primarily on, not that these are unimportant, but more primarily we need to focus on our understanding and not just skill development or doing things.
So I had a question actually, maybe related a bit about his journey. So like when he came upon the understanding of, coexistence and Jeevan and human conduct, when he realized that, all that, did he then take time to learn how to live like that? Or was it a journey for him also to kind of refine his living, or
Yes.
was it quickly and automatic?
No, yes. He talks about how, upon understanding, what was established in him were those 6 qualities. Swayam mein vishwas, confidence in oneself, a respect for excellence, sociability of uh, in one's behavior, a balance in one's talents and in one's personality. So these are all internal traits. But then he had to practice living them. And then he initially, very initially, when he was talking about his journey in this introduction only, he says that after I became accomplished and established in living like this, then I went about disseminating it and sharing this with others, because I found that I had evidenced what I had understood. So it was a process, he had to work on it. The internal traits were established, but then he has to live them also, not to learn to live them out.
Right. So did he wait till he was fully living them, or did he wait till he could just see that actually that understanding can translate into your living and can change your behavior? And then once he started on that journey, he started sharing it, or he waited till he was fully refined?
No, so he was saying in the beginning, he had said that it was when he found that he evidenced living with resolution and prosperity in his family, that he felt that he can now share this with everyone. So yeah,
Right.
he has not reached
Okay.
that society and international global community level of fearlessness and coexistence. But when he had evidenced up till the family, he felt like now this I can disseminate.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay, no worries. All right, so let's pause here for today and see you next time.
Yeah, thank you, Drishti.
Okay, thank you, Drishta.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.